We've photographed 99% of Mars in sharp detail, yet less than 1/20th of 1% of our own ocean floor has ever been mapped that closely. Today we're sending a cup down with the submersible, since nothing explains ocean pressure faster than watching something ordinary get crushed, floor by floor, all the way to the bottom. Drop Mount Everest into this trench and its peak would still sit more than a mile underwater, in a place so far down sunlight has never reached the bottom. This deep zone even has its own name, the Hadal zone, borrowed from Hades, god of the underworld, because for decades scientists genuinely assumed nothing could survive down there. In 1960, two men rowed a steel bathyscaphe all the way down here, becoming the first humans to ever reach the deepest known point on the entire planet. It took nearly 5 hours just to sink that far. And outside their tiny window, the pressure pressing in was more than 1,000 times what we feel up here. That crushing force is why research teams still tape ordinary foam cups to their equipment on the way down, because nothing sells the math of deep ocean pressure like this. By the time it reaches bottom, that same cup will have shrunk down to roughly the size of a thimble, squeezed by water pressing in from every direction at once. The trench itself stretches longer than the entire state of California, but almost none of it has actually been explored because reaching the bottom still takes specialized deep diving equipment. Only a small number of piloted trips have ever reached the very bottom of this point, and most of those dives have happened only within the last 10 years. Despite the crushing pressure and total darkness, this zone is not empty at all. It holds shrimp-like amphipods by the thousands and single-celled organisms the size of a fist. In 2024, a submersible found thousands of worms and mollusks thriving at these depths, the deepest colony of animal life ever directly observed by human eyes. But here's the twist. Plastic reached the very bottom of this trench, years before most of the creatures living there were ever properly studied by anyone at all. Samples pulled from the deepest mud on Earth now carry more microplastic fragments than almost anywhere else scientists have ever tested, on land or in any other ocean. So the numbers from the start make a strange kind of sense. We've sent rovers across another planet, yet most of our own seafloor still hasn't been mapped in detail. It isn't that the ocean is boring, it's simply harder to see through than empty space. And that gap is exactly what keeps drawing explorers back down here. That cup we sent down finally reaches bottom, hardened into a solid little marble, proof of just how much pressure sits between us and a place we barely know. We'll keep sending landers to Mars long before we finish mapping the trench beneath our own boats, which means the strangest planet we haven't explored is this one.